Hi everybody, my name is Daniel Kruger, and this is my video presentation for Module 8, Leading with a Moral Compass. In the first video that I'm going to summarize, Lee discussed that in order to be an effective leader, you need people to trust you. If that trust is gone, then you're essentially done being a leader. He also discussed that there's a line between right and wrong, and if you follow your true north and your moral compass, you should not even get close to this line that distinguishes right from wrong. You should be well on the side of right. But it's not enough just to know the difference between right and wrong. You also have to have a commitment to do the right thing. In the second video that I'm going to summarize, Bucaro describes 4 different moral obligations. First, you always need to put people first in your decisions. Secondly, respect everybody's dignity. Third, treat everybody fairly. And finally, always be honest. What really struck me about this video was the statement, "What is your line in the sand?" All right, he described drawing a line in the sand, right? And on one side of the line, you have your virtues, and he called these like non-negotiable. So you're not going to budge on these things that you find most virtuous. I really try to keep this in mind as I was designing my own moral compass and trying to ask myself, what is my line in the sand and what am I not going to negotiate on? In the third video, concepts of wrapped moral emotions, this video discussed how people evolved emotions so they can live together in groups. Right? Emotions such as guilt and shame are meant to steer us in the right direction, especially after we make a poor decision. People tend to be more generous and helpful after watching others be generous and helpful. I thought this was interesting, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the idea that teachers are always being a role model, and students learn about their own morals and ethics by looking to us. Finally, in this video, they discussed how emotional decisions often get made over rational decisions. Right? So a lot of times you're thinking with your heart and not your brain. So you really need to practice mindfulness and really think through and make rational decisions, not just these quick emotional decisions. The next resource was an article, Set Your Moral Compass True North. So we need to have our moral compass pointed north if we are considerate to others and want to act with integrity. So how do we know if our moral compass is pointed in the right direction? Well, there's 4 things. There's the rights theory, where you want to consider the rights of everybody else in your decision making. Next is a utilitarian way of thinking, where before you make a choice, you want to evaluate all of the possible harm and all the possible benefits that could result from that choice. And then finally, you have to look at virtues, right? So consider whether or not your decision is in line with the universal virtues, such as compassion and courteousness and honesty and things like that. In the final resource that I'm going to summarize here, this moral compass is basically argued here. On one side of the argument, somebody notices that society's moral compass seems to be pointed in the wrong direction, like pointed south instead of north. Right? He thought this was evident because all the immoral actions of notable public figures, so like politicians and celebrities, things like that. So it just seemed like society was acting more immoral. But on the other side of this argument, people are not any more immoral today. It's just that the immoral actions seem to be more noticeable. And also, it's difficult to say that the moral compass is pointing south, especially when it's so difficult to identify a true north. Because everybody has a different moral compass unless we have a single authority determining, what dictates like pointing north in your moral compass. Moral compass is always going to be kind of like a wavering concept. So here's my pictorial diagram or representation of my moral compass. I identified 5 virtues that to me were non-negotiable. So this is where I was thinking back to where am I going to draw my line in the sand, right? So first I have honesty, right? And that kind of goes hand in hand. If I'm honest, eventually I can build trust, right? And then I always have to trust that people are going to be honest with me, right? Responsibility and respect are 2 virtues that I'm always preaching in my classroom. So, I have my professional responsibilities where, I show up to work and do my job and, work as hard as I can, and then you always want to be respectful to the people around you, and hope that they respect you back. And then finally, I have empathy up here at the top. You always want to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, right, before you make a decision. See how that decision would affect them, and what would it feel like if you were in their shoes, basically. If I take all 5 of these virtues and I follow them, then I believe that I am acting with integrity, and that's why I have integrity really big and kind of in the background of all of this, right? It's ultimately my true north. Focuses on a direction of integrity, and following these 5 virtues is how I plan on staying on that path. Next we have my reference slide, and then finally my addendum slide. So my standard correlation says that the resources in this module increase my content knowledge by explaining what is a moral compass and describing how to make sure your moral compass is always pointing in the right direction. Having a moral compass pointing to your true north is essential for advocating for the ethical decisions and maintaining professional norms, which is consistent with Standard 2. And then I have my relevancy piece. This assignment agreed with my current content knowledge of a moral compass and its benefits. Everyone has their own moral compass and a sense of right and wrong. Even though we may be faced with difficult and complex decisions each day, if you follow your moral compass, you'll always be able to navigate your way to the most ethical decision. This will be useful because as a teacher, I must act as a role model and help my students develop their own moral compasses. And then finally, my reflection piece. By gaining this new content knowledge and creating a pictorial representation of my moral compass, I was able to reflect on the virtues that I value the most. I would consider all of the virtues that represent my moral compass as non-negotiable if I'm going to act with integrity. I'll be able to go back and reference my moral compass as a school leader and make sure that I'm making ethical choices. All right, guys, thank you very much. Bye.